And they want somebody to kill the fatted calf for them. They've come back crawling to Europe. And where does Europe go? Europe goes to Germany. Only Germany can't bail them out anymore. They spent too much money on wind power and bratwurst. So what happens now? Well, they want to come to America. Well, we're in the same problem. Look at America. The city of Los Angeles. I used to live just outside of Los Angeles. Wonderful place. Sometimes. City of Los Angeles is about to go belly up. They can't pay their bills. They can't cover their own expenses. So what do they want? They want the state of California to bail them out. Well, the prodigal city goes to the state. But it turns out to be a prodigal state. Because the state of California is going belly up. I've seen a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I believe in Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think he can save this one. I don't think the Predator could save this one. So California is going to go bail up. What do they want a bailout from the United States of America. Well, guess what? It's going belly up too. The problem is we're living on a prodigal planet. There's no dad and responsible brother to go to anymore. Everybody's been spending. Art Marmerstein said, like drunken sailors. I think that's bitterly unfair to drunken sailors. I think a drunken sailor looking at the federal deficit at this point would put down his bottle of rum and say, whoa, wait a minute. And start having second thoughts. Well, I can leave you with a little bit of good news. And that is that as a political scientist, I've been following the stats for a long time. I'm an election junkie. As it gets closer and closer to an election, I get more and more overstimulated. You find me on election night, with 3 computers, 2 TVs, a ticker tape machine. I've got it all, I'm listening to what's going on. And I've been following this one. I've never seen numbers for either party as bad as the stats are for the Democratic Party right now. It used to be the general rule that if the Republicans were behind in the polls nationally, as you ask people, who are you going to vote for, Republican or Democrat? And just look at the results of those kinds of polls. It used to be that if Republicans were behind, say, 3 or 4 points, they would actually win the election by 3 or 4 points. That was the general rule. Why that is, it's hard to tell, but it always was true. Right now, in some of the polls, the Republicans are 7 points ahead. You ask people, who are you going to vote for? If you're going to support a Democrat. Generally speaking, 48%, that would be an ordinary off-year loss for the party in power. Democrats are polling well under that, in some polls by 10 points. You'd expect the Democrats, just given that it's an off year with a Democrat in power, you'd expect the Democrats to lose about 20 seats in the House. I think the numbers are going to be a lot worse than that. I think they're going to be closer to 50 seats in the House. I expect there's a really good chance that they're going to lose control of the House of Representatives. I think... Let me try that again. The Democrats are going to lose control of the House of Representatives. Yeah. Hey! I just say that 3 or 4 more times and then walk off the stage. I think there's a chance it could be even better than that. I think we might, you look at historical trends, there's a chance we're looking at a loss. The Democrats might suffer a loss somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 seats. That would be phenomenal, but I think it's possible. The Senate's going to be a tougher nut to crack, but I think there's a good chance that we're going to get really close to even. And we might, conceivably, we the Republicans, that is, take control. All that looks very promising. And I think it's certainly going to have a big effect. And I think one feature of Democratic policy over the last year is that they've sort of realized this. They sort of realized this might be the last chance they're ever going to have. Now, Art said a lot of things about the Republicans that I think are worth remembering. Last time they were in power, they did not show themselves well. And people need to remember that. You've got to hold these guys' feet to the fire. You've really got to insist that they do what they're supposed to be doing up there. But I'm cautiously hopeful that we're going to get a change in Congress. One final Congress joke. If pro is the opposite of con, what's the opposite of progress? Congress. Thank you very much.
everybody. Nice to see you here. I think that everyone here is doing something that people in Washington are refusing to do, and that is anything at all that's difficult. Any kind of opposition, you wouldn't stand up against it, but here you are with the weather, so we already got a good start. I was thinking about what exactly is happening with the Tea Party movement, and I think that Americans are fed up. Does that sound about right? Yeah. Okay, but what is it that we're fed up with? Okay, what are we fed up with? Is it taxes in Washington? Okay. It's that something preposterous is happening. And when something preposterous happens, you get fed up. Washington has got an attitude problem. And it's so severe that it's causing people to stand up and say, what is going on here? This defies my ability to understand. There is no logical reason for this response. So, we named the city of Washington after a man named George Washington, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but that's just my guess. And what he said about government is that it's not reason. It's not eloquent. It is a force. Government is force. And like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. So he understood the role and the danger of government. Now, J.D. can relate to this next point. J.D., listen up. All right, imagine that you're a landlord, and you sign a contract to have a tenant living in your house. And you go back about your business, and they're living in your house, and the next time you come back to check, what has happened? They've decided to remake your house. They decided to paint your walls and destroy parts of the house and add an addition on here, and they're spending your money to do it. They're not even paying your rent. You know what? Okay. Would you be upset? They signed a contract. That's preposterous. You'd be angry. Now, think about young kids. They owe their parents their very existence. But what is the first thing the kids say after the parents give them something? Mine. Mine. And you look at your kids like, you've got to be kidding me right now. Nothing is yours. You are 5 years old. Everything you have, I have given to you. And everything you have to answer to me. Okay? That's what they say. Now that is a preposterous attitude. But what we have in Washington is a little bit worse than a 5-year-old. The leaders in Washington are like spoiled teenagers living in our house. And they refuse to be responsible with our stuff. They run up our credit cards. They give their money to their no-good friends, wasted on worthless things. They have no concept of responsibility. They think that life is a party, and most of them have never even had a real job. And what happens when you leave teenagers like that alone? They make a mess. They destroy your house. Okay, well, in our house, we had rules. And in our house in Washington, we have some rules. It's called the Constitution of the United States of America. Okay? And the reason we've got problems in Washington is because when we vote for people, we don't make them sign the contract. And even if they do, we don't hold them to it. Now, why are we voting for people? Are we voting because we think that they'll do this for us? They'll spend money here. We'll vote for them because they'll spend money over here. Why don't we vote for the person who's going to respect the rules by which we are employing them to work for us? Let's make that our number one priority. If you vote for somebody, you make sure that their first priority is to respect the Constitution. That is the thing that protects our sovereignty as people. As soon as we lose that, as soon as we start voting for different reasons, we'll lose our sovereignty. We'll stop being in charge. The teenagers will be running the house, and that's what we have going on. All right? Now, I've heard at the Tea Parties, I just heard someone on TV speaking before I got here, and he said, we want the government to leave us alone. And I thought, is that it? Is that what we want? I don't think that's what we want. I think the problem is that we left the government alone.